hello, and welcome to Dana's Check-In. And of course, I am your host, Dana Williams. And to my right is my co-host, Gabby Renee. So today's show, we are going to be discussing men's dating standards. Now, I know last time I did a ladies edition where we pretty much bounced each other's ideas off of what do we feel are our dating standards, what cannot be compromised in dating, of course. So now I really was curious to see what men actually thought and what goes through their minds when they decide to start dating someone new. So I had a few gentlemen actually email me some responses to my questions, and I'm going to be able to read them to you guys later on in the show. But until then, so Gabby,
Yes.
so I would like to discuss with our generation of men,
Oh, Lord.
what ideally do you think goes through a man's mind when they begin either dating someone new or if they even have dating standards nowadays, period?
I don't know. That's a very tricky question with several different dynamics and dimensions to pull through to figure out what that answer is.
I like to give you options.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Make me think, and that hurts sometimes.
Poor thing. It's okay.
I'm very fascinated to hear what the male feedback was.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I see it, I think it's just about the pool and what's out there that determines the standard. Now, dating is so different from when, we first got out there. Now things have evolved so much on the technical end where someone can meet someone within a matter of seconds of clicking a button. And then,
Facebook,
right,
online dating sites.
yes, which I'm still not the biggest supporter of for myself.
And why is that?
I have a strong appreciation for doing things the old-fashioned way. I like to know what I'm getting up front. I don't want everything to be so disconnected. And I know some people feel very comfortable with it. I'm just not one of those people.
I'm one of those people that do online dating. Well, I have done online dating before, and I'm not going to lie, you kind of don't really always know what you're going to get all the time. But I mean,
you
even
never
when
know.
Right, you never know when you meet someone in person. You don't never know what you're going to get either.
Right.
So
It's just another avenue. It's another outlet. And I respect that. I respect the fact that it offers those that maybe can't get out as much because of their demanding schedule to have that option. But I feel like if you want time for it, you'll make time for it. So
that is true.
with me, I want to go out and I want to network and I want to look on the scene and I want to make sure if your profile picture is something similar to a god. When I
I don't know if you'll find that. But
I seen 50 Shades of Grey yesterday,
Oh,
and
man.
it was some. Oh my gosh, Jesus, ladies, go see it.
Go see it.
Men, take your ladies to go see it. I'm talking about it was so much romance, intense romance in the theater after we left.
So, with you bringing that up, I wonder with today's modern age, with our men, have they forgotten how to romance and how to court women of such when we are deciding to date each other? Do you think that
when men and women are deciding to date each other?
when men decide that I want to be able to take you out. I just feel like personally in my dating experiences that men have lacked creativity. They have lacked the initiative to want to court you. Everything goes straight to what I need you for and what can you do for me?
I honestly think it is what you put out there. I have honestly, and I've always been honest on this panel and whenever I come to co-host,
Yes.
I have for the most part, have really quality dating history, where I've been wined and dined to capacity. And I've really
capacity.
not to say that it can be past capacity. I'm not saying that, but I really have. It's about what you put out there and you hold that standard. Now that's the thing that I'm saying when things evolve as far as technically wise. So if you meet someone on internet dating and then you guys are chatting, so to speak, and you meet up, then sometimes, people just immediately meet up at the guy's house. Like, yeah, he's going to make dinner, or and then
that's the romantic gesture.
But no, it's not a romantic gesture. That's something to build up to or work towards, because if initially he knows that you're fine with coming over his house, that's the date. That's where the date is eventually always going to be. So you have to make it known, like, no, I want to go out. I'm an active girl. I had an ex-boyfriend where he would give me his card and tell me to, like, don't purchase anything too expensive or too cheap, but get us some Bulls tickets or get us some Sox tickets. And that way, the standard was set. I want to go. I like doing these things. I don't necessarily want to pay for them.
Of course not.
But I do enjoy them. So let's not make this about us getting to know one another in a closed off, intimate setting. Because first of all, I don't feel comfortable getting close and personal with someone that I met off the internet and being in such close quarters as their home. So I think when it comes to men and their standards, you have so many women who are willing to compromise what their standard is, that they don't feel like they have to be chivalrous. But if you put out something that says, it's not that I want you to spend and tap out every dime that you have on me, but I do want some thought, and I do want it to be outside of your house or mine, then that's what you get. But you set that tone. So the moment that he says, I want to make dinner at my house, just know you're going to be eating a lot of dinners at his house.
Yes, because he has gotten to that point where, well, we did it for the first day, so what's wrong with that now?
Right.
I think that a lot of times, just on a woman's perspective, that women have a tendency to, if you don't come in right away with your dating standards and letting it be known of what it is that you require, and you're kind of in that we're going to go with the flow mode. I mean, some things, of course, you do want to go with the flow, because you don't never want to have
overwhelm
a man,
someone.
Be overwhelmed and feel like they're pressured into a situation that they're ideally are not ready for. But of course, having a woman with standards and just setting the tone of what it is that she likes, I don't really see anything wrong with that. But I have found a lot of men, on the other hand, seem to be lost or just unable to really feel like they've had a connection with women that are, I don't know, that ride or die. That's what they kind of, identify women as, like, yeah, I need my ride or die chick,
But have you ever sat back and just assessed and maybe thought about, what role do I play in this?
Exactly. I don't think men do that.
No, as a woman.
Oh, as a woman?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because that's what we have to analyze. And sometimes that going with the flow is a way to allow the standard to be set. It's a way that they can live harmoniously together. So you can go with the flow. Like if he wants a date night and you didn't necessarily think that it was date night, you can let it happen, or be willing to go with the flow, so to speak. But at the same time, that standard is set when he's doing surprise dates, and it is taking it a step further with being thoughtful behind it. Groupon is a man's best friend. Okay?
But don't solely just rely only on Groupon all the time.
Yes, don't figure out what it is that as you can see, I am very much lax, dressed down. Not to mention that I'm a little under the weather, but that's neither here nor there. I'm still feeling myself. Thanks, Beyonce. But, and Dana, like, we're sisters of another mister.
Yes.
But we're definitely polar opposites when it comes to just in the manner in which we carry ourselves. Like, we both carry ourselves as ladies, but I'm more tomboyish. I'm more laid back. I'm more dressed down. And Dana, she's more 5-star.
5-star, honey. Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with being 5-star, but if you're going to be 5-star, don't go to McDonald's looking for a gourmet meal.
That is absolutely correct.
So when you go
you get what you pay for.
when you go to McDonald's and you're 5-star and you go into McDonald's expecting a 5-course gourmet meal, you're going to be highly disappointed every time. So then it's just like, okay, let me assess this and analyze this based on what it is that I'm doing and the way that I'm going about it. Because I can easily say that it's the guys, but it can be me with my 5-star standard going to McDonald's looking for a Big Mac on a platter and it's still coming in a box.
Well, I will admit that is not I. I won't go to McDonald's thinking I'm going to get a 5-star meal. But just from a woman's perspective, I have just learned that everyone is not perfect, of course. Especially, I feel like when you're in the first initial stage of dating, you're still trying to get to know each other. You're still trying to fill each other out. But there are sometimes some red flags from everyone, from a man's perspective when he's going out with a woman for the first time, and of course for women when they're dating men for the first time. There's usually those red flags where you're like, I don't really think whatever it is that we do is going to be ideally what I initially want for future references. But I also want to touch base on the questions that I did allow the men to be able to chime in and kind of give me little pieces of what it is that they thought about initially when they're dating, and what usually goes through their minds when they do date someone new, and what keeps their interest and things of that nature. So I'm actually going to read my questions. So so the audience is able to actually get an idea of what tone I was trying to set with their dating standards. So my first question was pretty much, name your top 5 priorities you look for in a potential long-term mate. So remember, on our ladies edition of Dana's Check-In, make sure you catch that as well on Channel 21. We had also discussed how we have our, our must-haves and the things that we will not compromise on. So I initially want to ask the men what they will not compromise on and what they look for in their dating standards. Next, I also asked, what is the biggest mistake women make during dating? I am very curious.
I'm very curious.
Very curious to hear a few men respond to this question. As well, later on throughout the show, even though if the show is off the air, I still will invite you to still check in with me at danascheckin@gmail.com with any additional answers, or if you want to also contribute to the discussion. I still want to hear from my men and my ladies as well. So feel free to still email me as well. So my next question was, what is the most attractive thing a woman can do to keep your interest?
Ooh, okay.
Yes, I want to make sure I cover all grounds for my women and for my men. This is not a men bashing show, so
let's be enlightened as a
yes,
woman.
I want to be able to be enlightened, and I've read some pretty interesting responses, and we're going to talk about that as well. I also asked, what's usually the first thing that goes through a man's mind when they begin dating someone new? So, of course,
What was it? Sex. It was all
We're going to talk about it. And then my last question for my men was, what's a few things you've noticed about today's modern woman? So I'm curious to see, what other things they might have noticed about other women out there. A lot of men think that, those career goal-oriented women are either lesbians or
lesbians.
Which we are not. I will never be the first one to say that I don't need a man. That is not my mentality. I will, of course, need a man for certain things, but a man is not going to be able to define me as a woman, and he needs to make sure he brings something to the table. That's just a little side piece I just wanted to just throw out there.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Right. So my first response is actually from a friend of mine. His name is DeMarcus Hamilton. So his answers were, with the name your top 5 priorities, he says, my top 5 priorities are looks, of course, a sense of depthness in their personality, understanding, ambition, and the ability to communicate. What do you think about that?
That's pretty profound from a man.
From a man. I think, that sounds pretty clear and precise to what he's really looking for.
Yeah.
So, I give you that, DeMarcus. All right, thumbs up.
All right.
All right.
Kudos, DeMarcus.
Next, what is the biggest mistake women make during dating? So he says, the biggest mistake women make, I think, is thinking they can change a dude into the exact person she wants him to be. Nobody will make a change unless they are ready to. Also, women tend to set a schedule of progress and expectations with new interests and get mad when those superficial goals aren't met. Women run men off by doing that. Just let things evolve naturally and enjoy the ride. It's much better that way, and the results and acts of repercussions will be, reciprocation. I'm sorry. It's reciprocation. Will be genuine.
That's extremely depth. That's not surface. And I think,
you think that's true?
I feel like just speaking personally on, relationships that I have with females, like close friends and family members, I think that is a very realistic issue in a relationship, because you think that your relationship is supposed to be somewhere because of a time defined set by you, and the man is not looking at that. We were just talking about that with Celebrity Boot Camp. One of the couples happened to not be married. And everyone is bringing up, well, y'all been together this long and that long. But I think it's society that puts these ideologies in our mind that our relationship is supposed to look like this. Our image is supposed to look like that. It can't be any gray. It's only black and white. And if it's not, then it's a failure. And it has to be what feels right for you. If it doesn't feel right, don't let time establish that, because it cannot feel right the first day of meeting someone, or it cannot feel right after a couple of months. Or it can feel great, like everything is right on track in the 6 years that you've been together and not married. Like you're still having fun and going out and being carefree. And that works for you. So go, DeMarcus. I like that.
All right. Well, moving right along. What is the most attractive thing a woman can do to keep your interest? He says, keep me on my toes and continue to improve herself and try new things while finding ways to help me progress at the same time. I think I like DeMarcus. Just this alone, I think, is also important for women to know that you have to constantly still work on yourself versus always investing so much time in your relationship or in your man. Not that I'm saying as a woman not to do that. Of course, men need attention just like any other person does. However,
Strike a balance.
strike a balance. You want to be able to still have your own thing going on. You don't want to get so wrapped up and so involved in what's going on with your man that you completely then lost yourself. And I see that happen a lot of times as well.
Yeah, I definitely can attest to that. So, personal experience.
It's all right,
But moving
it
forward,
was a learning lesson.
It was a
That's
learning
all
lesson.
we say, learning lesson.
It was. Moving forward.
Moving forward, what's usually the first thing that goes through a man's mind when they begin dating someone new?
Sex. I know it.
That is not the answer.
Dang it.
He says, I don't know about other men, but I tend to wonder about whether or not she is a hoe, and I didn't receive the memo. Well, what do you say about that? I really think a lot of times, a lot of men, they think about that. Whether if the woman is being promiscuous, and well, he said that he didn't get the memo. So especially if you're trying to wife somebody up and you done found out that she didn't kind of been around everybody else and the brother and the cousins, and you like, well, dang.
But it's so fun. It's such a double standard.
It is because men are whores.
Men can be sowing their oats and sowing their
just being a
royal
man.
oats and being a man, and they can go on their sexual prowess and be okay and looked at and praised and appreciated. And women, you have more than two partners, and all of a sudden, you loosey goosey. Like what? I don't.
Come on, gentlemen.
I don't know. And I think it definitely goes back to the man. Some men don't care. Some men don't want to know what your past is because they feel like they don't want to dig that up. You are who you are now. And I believe everybody has to have some experience, maybe not sexually, because you don't have to have sexual experience to grow, per se, as far as a relationship. But everybody should be allotted their own experience, past experience.
Yes.
So that's for him, and that's fine.
So moving forward, I want to try to hurry up and get through the rest of these responses.
Okay.
What's a few things that you've noticed about today's modern woman? He says that things I've noticed about the modern woman is that they are more career-oriented than family at this moment. To me, that's attractive. I can't stand when a woman meets me and in the first 2 weeks she wants to know about marriage and she has set an age on when I need to be committed. They are also moving toward educated individuals rather than just being hung up on popularity. All right, so the next response is also from a dear friend of mine. His name is Omari. I am very curious to see what he has to say. So he says his top 5 priorities are no drama, someone who is supportive, not promiscuous, strong family values, culturally open-minded. Those are very good priorities to have.
It kills me every time a man says no drama.
But they're the ones that bring the drama.
I bet you 9 out of 10 of his girlfriends was like, "Oh, Omari, he was such a headache."
Such a headache.
Every day I dealt with something.
He also says that the biggest mistake women make is that they are too clingy. I can see that happening.
I've heard that.
I can see that. He said the most attractive thing a woman can do is to listen. And the first thing that men think is she a hit or run or a keeper? Lastly, modern women, this is what he put, well, there seems to be a ganging up against all men mentality. Well, that's because we've been hurt. And men just seem to have not gotten it together. I'm just saying.
I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon. I love men. I love you men. Take the different approach. I want to build you up, not tear you down. And I know
exactly. I don't want to tear a man down, but sometimes
my hurt and not dealing with it will, add to a
My
bitter,
frustration, yes.
demeanor, and I'm not
Trying to be that old bitter woman with
ladies,
9 cats.
let's get the therapy that we need. Don't
Therapy,
let
yes.
one guy or a couple of guys because it'll help us figure out why do we keep going after these same Rudy Poots when it's kings out here, kings to be had.
Okay, so moving forward is from a guy named Rashad. Rashad, he says that his priorities is to find a woman who is nurturing, God-fearing, independent, funny, goal-oriented, and listener. He says that the biggest mistake women make is trying too hard to be the man in the relationship.
Oh.
Meaning, I understand that you got it and you're a strong woman, but let a man be a man and know when to be submissive.
Oh.
Ooh.
Okay.
All right. And he also wonders about women when he first encounters them is this a temporary fun time or is this more? Lastly, he's noticed about modern women is that they are looking for men to take the lead but don't know how to move out the way to let him lead.
Wow.
Well.
All right.
All right. Rashad.
I like that he put in, he was the first person that I heard, first response back, God-fearing, knowing that
Absolutely.
spirituality is something of
It's
important.
very important, yes.
Especially when you're looking for something long-term. And I guess that kind of dictates whether or not the girl is going to be temporary or it's going to be a more permanent situation.
Absolutely. My last fella, his name is Cornell. Hey, Cornell.
You like Cornell.
Well, Cornell's an old friend, you know. But he says that his 5 things that he looks for is that he looks for a long-term mate with personality, brains, looks, respect, and most importantly, honesty. The biggest mistake a woman can make on a date is not to eat because you don't want to seem greedy. Be relaxed and don't be so defensive. The most important thing a woman can do to keep guys' interest is just compliment him. Some guys won't admit it, but we do like to get our egos stroked too. And the first thing that goes through a man's mind is sex. Laughing but very serious.
Thank you,
and that is not
Cornell,
a bad
that
thing.
was honest.
It just sounds bad. He does, however, check for a woman's priorities, though. He likes a woman to be independent mostly. And lastly, before we wrap up, is a lot of women today are not secure with themselves, too busy trying to be like or impress the next person. Don't be the woman who feels like she is ugly. Walk away with your heads held high. Know that you are the ish. Confidence in a woman can take a relationship a long way. And if you are willing to keep yourself up, it shows that you are not just settling. It keeps a man honest and on his job. Because the number one thing that can bruise a man's ego is seeing his confident, smart, sexy, and educated woman leave in another man's arms.
Whoa.
Well, that was a very good
way to wrap it up.
Wrap everything up. I just want to say thank you all for tuning in to another edition of Dana's Check-In. Please check in with me on my email, danascheckin@gmail.com. Thank you to my wonderful co-host, Gabby Renee, as well as everyone that tuned in and contributed with their questions and their answers. Until next time, thank you.